welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. This is going to be a reading for Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising positions for the July 19th to the 25th. Let's get started and see what messages we have for Aries. Make sure to check out your other placements as they get uploaded so you can get the whole picture for yourself. Okay. Let's see, what messages do we have for Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising? Okay, oh wow, very interesting cards here for Aries. Okay, all right, Aries, let's have a look here. So what needs to be brought into balance in the present for you for this coming up week? Looks like you need to take some time to reflect on some of the options in front of you, okay? It looks like you may be rushing into something here, Aries, and it could be exactly, everything you've wanted, but it's almost like you think you're rushing into it. And this is interesting here. What we see is we've got the Hermit in reverse here as what needs to be brought into alignment, which tells me that you need to spend some time with yourself, really looking at the past experiences that you've had up until now. And I'm guessing this has to do with a relationship here, but it could just be, sort of weighing out options to understand the truth about which option actually is the one that speaks to your highest good, and which option is just going to lead you down a pathway that you've already been down, sort of been there, done that kind of thing. And it's very interesting here because really, the truth about these cups here at the 7 is that there's ultimately the only option is to go forward into the unknown, right? The only option that you end up noticing when you examine these ones carefully is that the only one to choose is the one that means you going forward without looking at any of these past options. Because when you think about the Suit of Cups, the 6 is a time of nostalgia. 7 is a time of examining options. But you've just come out of a place where you've been thinking about the past. When I look at the 7 and I see the Hermit in reverse, and maybe you didn't extract the lesson that you needed to extract from the past. Maybe you went back in time to look at something and you didn't assess fairly your role in something. You may have, and it's not that I'm suggesting you're to blame to something, it's that you're on the process here. This card talks about, with respect to its placement here, it talks about the truth behind your role in something and the truth behind someone else's role in something. So it's sort of like you're on the process of understanding the truth behind something, and it's like you need to do that before you go forward, because you might end up repeating something that wasn't fulfilling. I do see here that you should go for it, though, when it comes to this new relationship and entering your life. There is a new start here, Aries, and it's going to be a good one. You should go for this. This is the action that you are being guided to take as far as examining your efforts and your role and your accountability in other relationships. Like when you look at yourself in the past in other relationships, you might not be looking at it fairly. You might be blaming yourself for things that weren't your fault. You might be blaming, other people for things that were on you. Regardless, it's time to start new. It's time to enter into this new union that is presenting itself. So if this is resonating for you, Aries, it looks like there is a new relationship here that is either on the doorstep or you've already entered into it. And this is a good one. This is something to go for. It's going to teach you something about yourself. It could lead to a major commitment. We'll see. What it's going to lead to is whatever it is that you believe and you have faith in. Whatever it is that you truly, this is like Phoenix from the ashes, okay? But it's in reverse. So that suggests that the idea that you could get everything you want challenges you, Aries. You see this and that terrifies you. You're like, excuse me, I'm going to get everything I've ever wanted? What? No. There's no way. There's got to be a sabotage here somewhere, right? And you, I mean, you are, I mean, you're not wrong when you bring up the idea of sabotage. When I see the star in reverse, sometimes that's what I think, is that you could self-sabotage here. But that's some interesting guidance to get, is it not, Aries? That you want to steer clear from self-sabotage here. You need to really like take a look. We see the Hermit is in reverse here too. That means that you're resisting the idea of doing the sort of the looking at the past experiences to understand a truth about yourself through those examinations, right? We're not looking back at ourselves to judge ourselves or to be hard on ourselves or to be unfair and say that, say limiting beliefs about our abilities in relationships. No, we go back to look and say, okay, in the context of that moment, this is how I showed up. Okay. Now, what does that teach me about life and relationships and myself, right? And then once you figure that out, then you go forward with a blank slate into option land here, where you're going to have to make some choices about what you're going to do. But it looks like you've met someone potentially. And so these are emotional options that dwell within you, Aries, in terms of like, are you going to repeat old patterns, or are you going to choose the unfamiliar cup that we see in the Eight of Cups that we don't see here? But in the Eight of Cups, you're heading off into the unknown, right? And you're going to do something that you haven't done before. I just think, yeah, watch the internal dialogue, Watch that internal dialogue. Okay, let's see what the Oracle cards have to say for Aries. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see. Okay, we've got the Fates, TikTok, Why, and Between Two Worlds. Okay, very interesting. So what that says to me, Aries, is that you are at a point right now where you've just started something new, and you're still doing an examination of your past, but you've already started something new potentially, if this is resonating for you. So that says to me that you truly are between two worlds, where you're sort of starting something before you've done a full examination or exploration of something in the past. There is still some why questions that you have here about some stuff that happened, and you're trying to figure out what your role is, what your role was in it. What was my role? What was your role? Whose fault was this? Whose fault was that? You're doing a lot of that in your head right now. And I mean, really the only question that matters is, what do I learn? What did that experience teach me about myself? What did that experience teach me about myself? Who was right and who was wrong is actually sort of irrelevant. It just, all that matters is, what did you learn about yourself by being in that relationship? What did you learn about yourself by your reactions to the person, to the situation? Those are the things to take note of, right? Those are the things that are going to teach you. Now, I think you got TikTok because you're already in this relationship. So it's sort of like you're already in a new relationship. So TikTok also suggests to me that like you need to keep in mind that the concept of time is sort of like all over the map here. You were examining the past and you're doing something in the present. So it's sort of like time right now is an interesting element to consider in this situation of being in between two worlds, because it's almost like you could stay in that between two worlds place, this limbo, if you will, before you cross over completely into this next chapter, for as long as it takes for you to do the examination. I mean, we have the Hermit card in reverse here. So until you do this, it is a fated situation. This is something that needs to happen. So time, TikTok, is sort of like, it's an interesting factor to consider, because this has to happen. Whatever this cycle is, you've got to close it out to start a new one. And you've already started the new chapter. So the self-sabotage thing is a real deal here, because you're not technically fully healed yet until that Hermit is upright. You know what I mean, Aries? Like you've really got to make sure that you've got your head in the game here, my friend, because you don't want to repeat old patterns, which is why we have this process to walk, right? And when I say process, I mean like literally the placement of this card describes the duality of the polarity of the situation you're facing, which is ultimately going to teach you something about yourself. And what you're on the path of learning is cause and effect. This is really about the truth about your efforts, skills and talents, your role, your accountability. What did you contribute to a situation, place, thing, relationship, event? And you need to understand this so that when you go forward into this new union, you don't repeat things for lack of having studied them, right? Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. If this has resonated for you, Aries, and you would like a personal reading, my email is in the description below. As always, thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and watching. And we will see you real soon again for some more readings. Okay, sending lots of love and light.